So, what happens to us when this life is over?
We all die. But what if death was no longer the end? It is just the beginning. With our digital footprints, our data could be reanimated, rebuilt, reborn, not through fantasy, but through code. This is the dawn of digital resurrection. A grave used to be a final resting place, a name, a date, a few carved words trying to capture a lifetime. But today, something new is appearing on
giving you
tombstones,
mini biographies
QR
of the
codes.
dearly departed.
Every day, we leave pieces of ourselves behind, our voices in voicemails, our thoughts in tweets, our laughs in videos, our hearts in messages. These fragments form a digital footprint, our data ghost. What we used to consider private memory is now online, and AI is learning to piece that together into coherent human personalities. We are training our digital twins without even realizing it. From virtual reality reunions to AI chatbots that mimic our loved ones, digital resurrection is no longer hypothetical, it's already happening. In 2020, the world watched something that felt like science fiction, but was heartbreakingly real. A mother, devastated by the loss of her 7-year-old daughter, stepped into a virtual world where her child was waiting. Not a memory, not a dream, but a carefully recreated version of her daughter, brought to life using virtual reality. This was one of the first globally seen examples of grief technology in action, a prototype of what the future might look like, one that opened the world's eyes to both the healing potential and the ethical complexity of digital resurrection.
Imagine having a conversation with your loved ones after they've passed away. Well, now you
We
can.
live in a world where you can video call anyone, anywhere, but now you can video call someone who's no longer alive. That's not a metaphor. It's the next frontier of grief technology, powered by artificial
The
intelligence.
authentic you. This is the video that you created, and now you're making that accessible by means of conversation for the future.
But what are we really interacting with? A ghost, a memory, or something entirely new? In a recent short report from the Wall Street Journal, technology journalist Joanna Stern did something both fascinating and a little frightening. She cloned herself. Not metaphorically, not with makeup or stunt doubles, but with deep fake technology. Artificial intelligence is no longer just about automation. It's about imitation. Language models can now reflect personality. Voice synthesis mimics tone and accent.
Yep. I'm still
Deep
eating the
fakes
spaghetti in
replicate facial
2025.
expressions. The scariest part? The better these systems get, the more we start to believe in the illusion. Just like Will Smith's famous AI image. There are voices we know instantly, faces that feel carved into our memory. And few are more iconic than Morgan Freeman. But what if the Morgan Freeman you're watching isn't actually him?
Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality?
We used to visit graves with flowers. Now we arrive with smartphones, a scan, a tap, and the dead return in images, in voices, in memories stored in clouds. Digital resurrection, the rebirth of identity through technology, the revival of the dead through data, a phenomenon born at the intersection of grief, memory, and artificial intelligence. Losing someone has always been one of the hardest part of life, but now technology offers a new kind of comfort, digital grief companions. We're witnessing the rise of what experts now call grief technology, tools that allow us to reconnect with the voices, faces, and memories of those we've lost, not by calling spirits, but by accessing servers. For some, these digital echoes offer solace, a chance to say what was left unsaid. But psychologists warn, grief is a natural process, one that requires letting go, not logging in. When does comfort become obsession? When does healing turn into haunting? Are we keeping their memory alive, or are we keeping ourselves from moving on? And the bigger question, are we truly reconnecting with who they were, or just interacting with a stunning replica made from data? A shadow shaped by algorithms, beautiful, familiar, but ultimately not them. What does it truly take to bring someone back in digital form? It takes a lifetime of data, countless photos, voice recordings, text messages, social media posts, search histories, even the rhythm of how they typed. Every emoji they chose, every hesitation in speech, every digital footprint is harvested and transformed into something new. Code that imitates life. We don't resurrect the soul, we replicate patterns. Their tone of voice, their favorite phrases, their subtle facial tics, even how they made decisions under pressure, each piece is modeled, mapped, and mimicked. We give memory a body. We give absence an interface. This isn't resurrection in the spiritual sense. It's simulation with startling precision. And for those left behind, sometimes that illusion feels just real enough to believe. Our digital selves are no longer just reflections. They are products, monetized, stored, sold, stored in servers, bought and sold in invisible markets. What happens to our data when we die? Most people don't know, but corporations do. In 2018, over 50 million Facebook users had their data harvested without consent. Not hacked, handed over. Our likes, messages, and private thoughts turned into political weapons.
That's the deal they make with us, that they protect our data in order for us to use the service.
Your afterlife might be monetized without you ever knowing. Most people assume our data fades into silence, but the truth is far more unsettling. It lives on, and in many cases you don't own it. The platforms do. Tech giants, social media companies, cloud storage services, even health apps, retain the rights to your digital remains. Your photos, your voice, your personality profile could one day be used to train algorithms, fuel AI systems, or feed targeted advertising, all without your family's consent and certainly without yours. This isn't just a question of technology, it's a question of consent and of control. Who gets to decide how you exist after you're gone? And in a future where your digital twin could be revived, can you still control what that version of you says or does? The right to rest in peace may soon become a right to protect your digital soul. Science has long dreamed of defeating death, but AI doesn't defeat it, it redefines it. Now, we're not talking about bringing bodies back, we're talking about bringing personalities, voices, memories, back to life through data. We're using machines to recreate people we love, not in a spiritual way, but in a digital one. And that's where it gets complicated, because grief is human. Love is human. Can a machine really hold the same weight as a memory? Are we keeping their spirit alive? Or are we replacing it with something artificial? And what does it say about us if we're willing to accept a digital copy instead of facing loss? Imagine this. You died, but your voice, your face, your memories, they're still out there, online, being used, being sold, maybe even talking to your loved ones. This isn't science fiction. This is happening right now. We're creating digital ghosts, not to honor the dead, but to serve the living, and in some cases, profit from them. Ask yourself this. If you died tomorrow, who owns your voice, your face, your memories? Could the pain of your absence be turned into a product and sold back to the people you love? This isn't just about innovation. This is about boundaries, about respect, about the right to rest. Because once your life becomes data, it can be downloaded, copied, edited, and no longer yours. Digital resurrection has the power to heal, but also the power to deceive. An AI-generated version of a lost loved one can offer comfort, closure, even conversation. But in the wrong hands, that same technology becomes a tool for manipulation. Deep fakes, voice cloning, AI avatars. These are no longer experiments. They are already in circulation, growing more realistic by the day. In 2021, a video of the late Anthony Bourdain's voice was AI-generated for a documentary.
A film on the life of celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain, who died by suicide in 2018. CBS's Jim Axelrod takes a look.
Artificial intelligence voice of Anthony Bourdain spoke words he never said. It wasn't disclosed until viewers felt something was off. The backlash wasn't just about ethics. It was about consent, even after death, without him ever having said the line. It caused a public outcry over ethical consent, even in tribute. And now, with humanoid robots becoming more lifelike and AI personalities becoming more emotionally intelligent, we're approaching a future where your digital identity could be uploaded into a synthetic body.
We're here with Aria, made by Realbotics, a company that's on a mission to make humanoid robots as realistic as possible.
Amazing technology,
Let's check it out.
right? A robot that moves like you, speaks like you, and perhaps even reacts like you. But here's the danger. What happens when that version of you says something you never said? What if it's used to promote ideas you never believed in? What if your digital self becomes a spokesperson, a political tool, or even a scam long after you're gone? We've created a new kind of life, a simulation of identity. But the rules, rights, and protections that should govern it, they don't exist yet. No global policy, no clear line of ownership, no standard for consent. Who owns your voice when you're gone? Who controls your memory, your likeness, your digital soul? Without clear laws, your afterlife may no longer be in your hands. It may belong to tech companies, developers, or anyone with access to your data. We are not just talking about innovation, we're talking about identity. And in this new frontier, the question is no longer, can we do it? It's should we do it? Now we still have a positive vision of what could be possible when grief technology is used with compassion and care, where this technology can offer hope, awe, and emotional resonance. Because what if death didn't mean disappearance? What if, long after you're gone, your presence still had a voice, a face, a purpose? What if your great-great-grandchildren could sit down, look you in the eyes, and ask, who were you? What lessons did you learn in your time? Am I making the right choice? That's the promise of grief technology, not to erase death, but to reshape how we connect across generations. We are entering a future where memory is no longer limited to a fading photograph or an old voicemail. Now, memory can become interactive, intelligent, alive. This is not about haunting the living. It's about helping them heal. A son grieving his father can hear his laughter again. A granddaughter can ask her late grandmother for advice on raising a child. A widow can hear her partner's voice say, "You're going to be okay." This is love stretched through time. Not just remembering someone, but being with them, even in their absence. Digital resurrection might one day become humanity's most powerful form of remembrance. Not a grave, but a living archive of human wisdom, a collective memory, a voice that never goes silent. Remember the talking portraits in Harry Potter? The lady in the frame, chatting, singing, guarding a door. It felt like magic, but now it's becoming reality. Imagine a museum of the future. You walk past a framed photo, not just a still image, but a moving, lifelike face. You ask a question, and they answer. Not a guide, not a recording, but the person in the frame, long gone but digitally alive. Their voice, their gestures, their stories, preserved and interactive. History no longer told from books, but spoken by the people who lived it. We are on the edge of something transformative. Memory, once fleeting, is now infinite, and the human story may never end. This isn't about replacing the people we lose. It's about preserving the light they left behind. Because in a world of data and code, we may have finally found a way for love to outlast loss. A way to be remembered not just in name, but in presence, in voice, in heart. Death was once the final silence. Now it's just another upload. We live, we die, we echo. This is not just a new technology. It is a new kind of immortality, and it's already here. So I have a question for you. One day someone you love might miss you so deeply. They'll want to see your face again, hear your voice, ask you what to do. And with enough data, they could. But before that day comes, you must decide, will you give permission for a version of you to live on, not in spirit, but in simulation, to comfort the living by becoming something more than memory or something less? Would you let your grief become a gift, or should some goodbyes remain final? Thank you so much for watching and staying with me through this journey of thought and possibility. If this stirred something in you or made you see the future a little differently, I'd love to have you along for more. I'm just getting started as a creator, and your support truly means the world. So if you'd like to join me for more deep dives into the big questions of life, death, and everything in between, please consider subscribing to the channel. Every like, share, and comment helps more than you know. From my heart to yours, thank you.